My biggest play in this game is you've got to strike a deal at the start. You pretty much want to be starting the moment that you exchange. You got to play the game at the start. So let's just say, righto, we've got it for 1.6. So you're $200,000 in front already. How good? But on this deal, I feel like I've given you 50K more than what it's worth. I'm going to give you 5% deposit, not 10. Instead of giving you 160,000, I'm going to give you 80, right? So you've only got $80,000 worth of skin in the game, and you've negotiated yourself an extension of time or a delayed settlement of at least 3 months. Because I know in 3 months you can get a lot done. In 3 months, I'm pretty confident I'm going to have a DA submitted. For 3 months, at best, I've put in 90K, not 180. So I've got a better cash flow.
I've got no holding costs.
I've got no holding costs.
Got no loans.
During that 3 to 4 months, if you work your little ass off and you've got a good architect, you're going to have your DA submitted, right? When your DA is submitted, you can start actually selling the product.
So what are we talking about today?
There's obviously different areas of developments. There's, your commercial developments, which is a cool thing to double into. I think maybe it's good to double into and diversify into a bit later in India when you've just started a development journey. Something that I wouldn't mind looking at soon. Obviously, I've got this one here, but wouldn't mind looking into more of it. Then you've got obviously your housing or your sort of lower end market in developments, which I guess takes up a lot of volume. You've got to be selling multiple dwellings to sort of, and getting them on land lots and stuff like that and they take a lot of time to set up. And then you've got the stuff that I like doubling into is the higher end market. So, your super high end sales, super luxurious sort of properties, which for me is an appetite, I guess, not just because, well, they are super risky, but for me, it's about the game of it, the play of it, what you get to design, to be able to spend that amount of money, but design something really cool. And then we've got this really, really cool model in the middle, which is they sort of call the middle market, or I sort of now call it the middle upper end market, because 2 million properties before were sort of a 1 to 2 million sales were a middle market up here, but now it's probably more 3 to 4. And I think if you can nail that market or that model, the middle model, this is the word you like.
Middle market model.
Middle market model.
It's triple M.
I think that would be a cool play, but it's obviously finding the site. So essentially the formula would be 1.5 buy, 1.5 build, and then 1 to 1.5 return, or, 2, 2, 2, whatever you want to play it. But at the end of the day, $1 million outcome at the end of a development where your total development costs are, around 3 to 4 million is a really cool outcome because you're up to at least 25%. So I guess the topics will be around that and why the other ends can be a little bit more dangerous to play in. See where it takes us.
I think I like the model because there's an equation out there around value, and value is usually determined by like core outcomes, so profitability or feasibility, divided by time, so how long it takes to get that. And I think, like you were mentioning before we went live, the lower model, it's like not great outcome, but it's relatively quick. But then again, you've got to do it in mass quantity. The bigger model, which you've tapped into and you've got some record results, is like really good outcome, okay, and records, etc. But it takes time. It can take 2-3 plus years. The middle model, or the middle market model, or the triple M, right, is like, or the 1.5 mil land acquisition, 1.5 mil build, 1.5 mil profit, hypothetically. It's like really good profit or really good outcome in decent time frames. So, it could be 12 months, could be 18 months, but it's a good, tangible, close to opportunity. And I think that's the good thing about the middle market model is this year we've got one project that we're doing together in that model on the Central Coast. We've also been exploring, you and I, Queensland that adhere to the same middle market model. It might not be 1.5 acquisition, 1.5 build, 1.5 profit.
2.5.
But it might be 2.5, 2.5.
But their median house price is now overtaken Sydney.
Yeah.
So the Gold Coast is right up there. So middle market, I guess, means the sale price in that particular area. So that's their middle market, and obviously that's going to fluctuate depending on where you do the project.
Yeah. So it's a good focus point, I think, because a lot of people, when you say developments, they go, "What am I developing?" And like you said, am I going commercial? Am I going a cheap flip? Am I going like and trying to go balls to the wall 10, 15 million? Like what am I doing? But I think this is a good profitable way to be focused. Is that mid-market model?
Yeah, and not only that, I guess doing developments, your whole journey is going to change along the way. Whether you start out flipping, like I think everyone should, safe, low risk, a lot more less cost, and obviously it's your primary residence, so you're banking more money, and then you might roll into like developments, like I was saying, one of these models, and then down the track, like I've got, I think another development model, which I've always spoken to you about, is they're moving into the holiday market development.
Yep.
Which is a huge appetite for me, and which I want to do. It's a goal of mine. So I've sort of set 2 to 5 year plans of what I want to do next. And obviously keep doing the same formula that you're doing now, and going to that holiday rental market, luxury holiday end, because after going up to that Urban Unity Urban Developer Conference up in Goldie for a few days, which is really cool. You learnt that what do they say, 65%, it's gone up, experiences in Australia's gone up 65%. So that covers like people staying in luxury accommodation, and the secret numbers that you got to sort of hit so multiple families can sleep in there and pay the money of that sort of that premium place that they want to stay in. So push it along all these different development parts, and your journey will change along the way. You will, and then one day it's good to double into commercial and hold it, because as you know, their yields are generally a lot better, and you've got no outgoing. So there's so many different things that I guess we'll venture into over this podcast journey. But yeah, at the moment, I think now doing with the middle market, well, the triple M market, let's say something on the Central Coast, you try and aim out similar to a Forest one. You buy, they wanted a lot more, but you've got to when you buy that middle market, you've got to be so aggressive on the acquisition. Like, you can slip a couple of hundred on a high-end development. You might have to pay a premium price to get it. But if you do the product right, you will get that extra cash on the end of it. The middle market caps out. So as you know, we had to work backwards from that. So we said, righto, we know we're going to sell it for 4, possibly could be a 4.4 for uplift. We need to work back from that. We know in today's day, in a middle high-end sort of home, we can't build anything for less than 1.5 million, right? That's cool, Hamptons Coast, what everyone loves. So you take that off the 4, you always go off your lower, I guess your lower sale, you got to be realistic. Anything else is called an uplift. Then you go, right, I've got this much left. I want to earn this much profit. This is how much I've got to spend on the block. So we come back and said, we've got to sell it, spend about 1.5 million on the block, correct? So they wanted 1.8 to 2. This is where it comes to having a good team, having good communication, and being upfront of how much you want to spend, and having a great agent or buyer's agent and knowing the other person's circumstances of, they needed to sell because they wanted to buy something else. And they weren't obviously attached to the property, and you've got to go in and you've got to be aggressive and buy as low as you can. In that market.
I think using that as a case example, so Foresters Beach, Central Coast, New South Wales, we both reside on the Central Coast. Now, that property is that we're both invested in on the Central Coast. Giving a bit of detail here, I think you said we settled on it in March this year, give or take.
Yep.
Like you said, it was a $2 million property. You got it through your connections for $1.5 million.
We've got 3-month settlement on it as well.
3-month settlement on it. Realistically, $1.5 million build, give or take, using round numbers. And based on what we expect to sell, we're looking at, $4.5 million sale price.
Yes,
which
I think that'll be our top dollar, and our lowest is 4, and that 4 is still a good profit on it.
Yeah. So we're in that 3x. We're in that like 1.5 acquisition in Foresters, in I think the roads Henry's, we called it Henry's. So 1.5 million there.
70 meters from the beach, views over the water. That's the beauty about like locations like this. You hear that it's very hard to buy in Wamberal a new home, within 100 meters from the beach with water views like that. You're probably 5 million, right? A lot of people now aren't being able to afford what they want in Wamberal, but they still want it. And then you got the suburb next to it that no one's really touching, and it's 5 minutes away, and it's beautiful. It's probably got one of the better beach outlooks than any other beach. I think anyone would agree. Just the ocean looks a lot bluer because there's a lot of rock ledge. It's just a cool spot and a lot quieter. But the thing about Forries as well is it really ramps straight up onto hills from the beach. It's not flat from the beach. So pretty much, and there's a lot of old homes there that you can knock down. So you're not paying a lot of cash for the actual house that's still there and they're knocking it down. You're actually paying for the land. Like our one's an asbestos little box, right? It's just going to go. You didn't pay any money for that. You pay money for the land. Those key areas, I think, will spike and will go well, but you wouldn't be able to buy that model in Wamberal. You'd have to, in Wamberal, to be a 222, right? You're $500,000 more any day of the week. So yeah, going back to where you're actually doing the development is very important. You got to sort of make sure you're suiting your price guide to that area. Like 5 minutes away, and there's probably $500,000 different, or maybe more. Like if you bought that in Wamberal, it could be an extra 500. It'd be $2.5 million. Do you agree? For the site, it'd have to be. It'd be $2.5 million that way. So it's $1 million difference.
Well, okay, let's almost compare to McGee that you did. I know the times were different, but that was effectively a 2.5 to a 2.5, probably a 3, but let's say a 2.5.
It was pretty close. So it was 2.4 and a 2.4 purchase of land acquisition, 2.7 plus GST of build. So when you round it up, it's still a 2. It's still a 3.
So it's kind of the same model, but it's just leaning on the higher end.
It is.
It's just pushing to the higher end because the one you're doing, the other one you're doing in Wamberal right now, it's going up around the same sort of even higher principles, like give or take.
Yeah, land acquisition was about a little bit less. It was 250K or 200K, let's call it. Acreage site, and the build were probably tips very similar.
Okay.
So
same
thing that the sales, I don't know, a sale could be anywhere from 7 to 10 there. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And that's where I go back to with luxury developments. It's the buyer that's going to give you the price for that property.
Yeah.
Our product will determine the price.
Yep.
At a point. And you go, yep, that's worth that. And you know what? You don't really know what it's worth. It's funny. You set out a guide to what it is worth. A valuer would never, ever give you that. So this is another benefit when we talk about the middle market, right? So a middle market, you will get your valuations prior to obviously getting your funding. They would usually come in a lot better, significantly better. So, and we all know that lending or borrowing is all determined when you do it in development finance on your end realization value. So you get all your drawings together, you get all your renders together, your 3D enhanced images, you get all your specifications, your finishes and fixtures, and you give it to a valuer, and then he sits on it for a week and gives you an end valuation. And you're hoping that's close, or within 20% of what you want to sell it for at the end. And rarely that happens. And if it doesn't happen, you got to put in more money. So, and more money, more cash, less cash for any other opportunities that come up. So this one at Voorhees came in at close, I think 3.9 million, which is an unreal valuation. It means your capital you put in is minimal.
Yeah, because really just to slow up on that point, because it's important. Back to numbers, 1.5 mil acquisition, expected 1.5 mil build using a simple model. Okay, that valuation or that end sale price came in close to 4, right? So the bank or the lender, right, is valuing it not on the TDC or the $3 million total development cost. It's going, no, the sale price definitely has $1 million in it. And so, again, like you mentioned, you do the more upper middle market or even the higher market, like you said.
The valuations for ones that are selling for 7.
You were getting 4 mil valuations on things that were costing a lot more.
And then selling for a lot more, but you know how much cash that takes away from you during that process.
And the time. So that's a critical benefit of this middle market model is you're not getting like the harder, scrappier returns of the lower market. You're getting juicier profits, but you're getting them in a better time frame and without the risk exposure and with finance companies stacking up better from an end value position because it's not so far you setting a whole new product.
No.
You're setting a whole new
you're doing something
ceiling.
And you're doing something they've seen before.
Yes, that's a critical point.
Because they're all going to go off comparatives, mate.
Okay, so that's a critical point. The comparables, the comparable land.
I can't give comparables for the other ones that we're doing. We just can't do it. So, like, for instance, I stood at the top of the hill at McGee and I was like, mate, it's not 4.5. It's 5.5 to 6. You need to give me 5.5 to 6. No one's done it. He's right. It wasn't done. The closest sale still today is 3.6, which is $2 up. So I do understand where they're coming from and they have to look after themselves. But that's the game that you're playing, and that's where it can get hard. And that hardness is not only going to happen from then; it's going to be hard throughout that whole build till it's sold, because your cash injection is huge for one project. But when you do it on the middle market, as you're saying before, and they give you they give you close to the 4, which is unbelievable, and then you're selling for 4 to 4.5. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to work it out that you're in a good position for funding at the start of it, and I guess gives you a bit more clarity about what you're going to get at the end, regardless, because banks will generally be 20% under on their valuations, right? So you add that 20% on, you're in a pretty good position for your sale, as long as the market stays well, and it's a sort of a comfortable playing market. The other thing, we'll touch on sort of the lower end market soon, but I guess with the higher end luxury end developments, there's that sticking point, and if you do 2 of them and 2 of your vows don't come in, you're putting in a lot of cash. Right, so and they're not realistically Brush Road with 5.2 something. So it's not a little bit different, but he gave me the extra 500,000 because he actually said we were setting our own comparatives. So I sent him around. Their company did McGee, and I said just go drive past them, look at it on the way. He goes, yeah, we heard about that one, sold for 7. So he went past that. He was going to give me like 4.5, and I think he came back and said, oh yeah, you're right, that's beautiful, and he gave us like 5.4 or something. So he essentially gave us another $800,000 on the valuation because of a past project. That's a comparative for them. But that's the only comparative they got. If I had 4 of them, he'd probably give me more. Because they're not done, they can't do it. So that part makes it hard up there.
Okay, so that's an important point. So if you've got the middle market and you're not setting new ceilings in the upper market stuff, you've got comparable sales and relatability, meaning the valuer can justify higher values.
Yep.
And a critical advantage that we saw, that because we had a 1.5 acquisition and build, but the value was coming in at 4, close to 4, it meant less cash in for us as well.
Yep.
So these other projects that you're referring to, like the McGee that you hit the record on, or the Brush Road that you're working on now, there's the upper echelon, right? You didn't have the
echelon.
No, that's a new word.
Lad.
You didn't have the higher comparables, and you had the lower valuation. So you're putting in heaps more cash, right?
And that's playing you all the way through.
Exactly. With this project, the Henrys or the Triple M, right, or Foresters Beach project, right? Because we had the TDC at 3 mil, we had an end value at 4 mil. When we're not needing to put in as much capital that we initially expected.
And then what's that mean for other opportunities?
You've got more cash safeguard, or you've got more cash to invest in other middle models. So you can potentially do 2 middle models, middle market models, to the price of one.
You've just need to be super active on the acquisition, so you don't lose out in them. You've got to move fast on those. That's I guess that's the hard part with the middle model, is you've got to act quick. That's not. Those properties are selling for that much are a good buy. And it can be a good purchase for someone who's not developing and just go, oh gee whiz, we can get this and get a builder in and build it and still have a home and still have 500k equity straight up. That's a smart model for an investor.
Yeah, now I want to talk about that. Yeah.
So you're in competition against a fair few people that are trying to purchase that property.
Yeah. Well, okay. The middle market model is very attractive. I'm very attracted to it, and I'm attracted to it because it's a very good return in a decent time frame. As a development model,
with less cash.
Very attractive with less cash, because then values stack up nicely. But I also want to premise this by saying that it's not, you can't just jump in and find a middle market model opportunity that quickly, because you and I have also been venturing off into Queensland to their middle market model, which is, like you said before, we'll call it a 222, just for all intents and purposes. So that model, right, we went up there, we went to auction, that 2 mil model or 2 mil acquisition, I think it pushed out to
2.801.
2.801.
And that was from...
That screwed the model, right?
That was just from a family that just wanted to purchase it. And
as it was.
Yeah, so you're going against emotionally attached people, especially if and up there, they've pretty got substantial... That's the thing about up there as well. It's a little bit different down here. When you buy, on Mermaid Waters or anything like that, obviously we're starting to learn a lot more about that up there now.
Yep.
That you're still buying a decent sort of home.
Yep.
There's not many asbestos shacks on Mermaid Waters anymore, but you're still buying it for 2.5 or 2.5 to 3, and they're a decent home, so that family can buy it and move straight in. Like the home that I went into on that one there was was a beautiful, livable home with views of the hinterland, and then on the second floor you'd look back at the city lights of Goldie, and you're on the water with your own boat ramp. So it's pretty good value, bang for buck. But the thing is, yes, you're going to go against people who can just move straight into that and be happy.
Yeah.
Rent to the outside and go, wow, this is a lovely home, which it is.
Yeah.
So that was guided to roughly go at 2.5 million, and on the day it went at, and there was going to be no bidders, and then there was, I think, maybe 5, and then on the day it goes to 2.801.
Yeah, and I think we had an agreement point that it was like 2.2 acquisition, like 2.2 maybe a bill.
We went up to 2.5.
Yeah, I did.
We went over.
I thought it was 2.2.
But it still would have worked to that. But then when you go on
it
2.8,
it changes to what? It changes to the upper echelon.
Yeah, the upper echelon.
The upper echelon.
And then
he always takes my words, guys. Well, that upper echelon was good.
Yeah, it's a mad upper echelon.
Okay, so that's important. So now I wanna stay on this point of there's not just a million middle market model opportunities floating around, because on the Central Coast, bringing it back to Central Coast, we tried Avoca to do the middle market Hamptons model. Okay, so we went there.
Same thing, family. You drove past it the other day to see what had happened. It's the family, mate. It's nothing's happened there. They're happy where they are. They've moved in, done, and you're battling against emotionally attached buyers. Yeah, it's good to see. I'd rather lose out to them than lose out to someone else that you're not in competition with, but someone else that wants to do the same, I guess, model as you. But yeah, you're going to lose out to them guys a lot.
Yeah. So what was that? What were those numbers again that we were hunting?
1.4 we wanted.
1.4, 1.4.
Build. There was going to be a renovation build, that one. So another sort of 1. It was a bit different. It was like 1.3 to 1.4, then a 1 to 1.1 on top, and then sell for 4.5. So which is similar, but just spread numbers a little bit.
It was like the lower middle market model.
Yeah.
It was still the middle market model.
Because they had views of Avoca Beach but yeah, they're very hard. You've got to really be in the back pocket of an agent, and obviously very fortunate enough to work with the lads at McGrath, and I've been for a while, and we just it's very beneficial. But like I've always said, your relationships are super important. You've got to do right by them, and they'll do right by you. And this all goes back to episodes that we've done before on relationships. Like you're not going to get
I reckon you're their leading salesman, by the way.
Hey, maybe.
Do you get paid on books?
Yeah,
even I'm bringing business in for them now as well.
Yeah,
so they get it good.
But it's a fun working relationship as well. So, but it's very hard to rock up to someone. Like I said, you've got to get it first.
Yeah.
We didn't have an auction at Forest.
Yeah.
So we just went there, said, this is the one. I told you got to see it. Boom. Yeah. It needs to be done, and just make it happen.
So I agree. I heavily agree, because a big thing that I pitch, right, with any client that I work in with, is that the agent is critical. How good the agent is critical.
You're going to make sure you pick the right agent too, mate. They're not all they're not all just floating around.
And they're different in different markets, right? So McGrath is very, they're number one on the Central Coast. Yep. They got you and I that deal in Foresters Beach, right? For whatever it was, 1.5, 1.6, okay? Like you said, it was going for 2 mil, okay? That was clearly that relationship that got that. As we've gravitated to Queensland as well, we've gone up and set critical agent relationships up there, so we can get these, 2.5, 2.8s at 2.2, right? So we can tap into those opportunities. How critical is it to get this middle market right by getting that agent to land the right opportunity? And a lot of agents can't land those opportunities.
It's one of the most important things, whether it's a buyer's agent or an agent. They have to have that stock there ready to go. So when it pops up, you're the first call. Like once it goes out there, it's just. And I'm lucky enough to be able to see that and see if it works, and then it goes out there and then it gets sold. And usually, if it gets sold for more, it's good. But you've got to get first dibs on it, and you've got to act fast. Then you can't go, you got to try and be fair to the agent as well, because they've got a job to do. If they're a good agent and they're great people, it's the same as what we need on our end. So, you don't want to be slack to them on that. And you want to say, look, give me a few days, see if it works. If it doesn't, just say, look, don't work.
Yeah.
But you need to get that first. When it goes to auction, and now we're coming to the spring market, there's going to be more stock, and it depends on when you're playing the game. Like in the middle of the winter, especially this year, very, very dry, not a lot of stock, but not a lot of buyers. So you can get it and look at it, and that's sort of when we sort of jagged the other one.
Off market as well. One of Foresters was off market. So that the agents, the McGrath boys that you're working with, those guys got that off market.
Exactly.
And they got it first.
Yeah.
They got the opportunity hundreds of thousands of dollars under.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember the phone conversation we had. Like, we had to move swift. We had to be on the same page pretty quick. And we have to go, let's do it.
And it's going to be a fun one to do, and that obviously kicks off in hopefully 2 weeks or so. So I guess what we're trying to explain to anyone that's listening is if you're going into a development that's not a flip or something, you're looking at that sort of market, just take your time on it. The purchase price is, like, the acquisition is super important. Where if you can save a couple of $100,000 there, and you keep your build on track, you're going to start off on the front foot. And if you've got enough capital there, let's just say hypothetically, right? So you do that, your startup cost, you might have to chuck in, say, let's call it your 20% for land acquisition. So, we'll say $300K, right? And then your design fees, your engineering, bit of CC, you might have to throw in another 100. So let's call it 400, right? So you might have a startup of 400 for that project. And because you get a good val on the end of it, so you've bought something for, let's call it 158 it was, but 16, and then you put in 400 for everything to be done and ready to go, and in DA and design and engineering working. So they're all paid for, and then you know that you need to cover the build, right? So then you go to your funder, and then you say, all right, here's all, and you pay 10 grand for your renders, like, 4 shots, always good, 2 on the outside, 2 on the inside. You present it all nicely well to the valuer. I've always got a thing, I meet the valuer on site. Anyone who doesn't meet a valuer on site has got rocks in their head, right? I at this office, when I get this valuer, I'm still here. I've got the boys cleaning it the day before and making it good, because at the end of the day, you feeding that valuer more information. A lot of the values don't even come from where you're getting the valuation done, right? You've got to feed them. You've got to push them and say that this is what it's going to be. This is the build. And if you're the builder or you've got experience with the build, this is what we're putting in. Make your finishes and fixtures schedule attractive. Present it well, because that could be the difference of 500K or a couple of $100K, which is a lot. All right. So then you get a val that stacks up that's close to it, let's say close to 4 million. And then you go in, you take it to your bank or your funder, and they come back, well, you can borrow $4 million. So you really take away your 20% of that. Right, you're at 800, right? But then they're going to give you, the startup cost for when you start the build and everything like that. So you realistically, I think the input on something like that would be $600,000 if you do all your vows right. Correct?
Yep.
Do all your vows right from start of that project in the middle of market. That's a 1.5 by 1.5 build, $4+ million sale at the end. You got to chip in $600,000 of your own money if you do it right. That's pretty good returns, right? Putting 600,000, get what? 1.2 back.
1.2 back. It's 200% return. You on the stock market, it's 10%. So
Exactly.
it's a 20x, right? I think there's a flow-on effect here as well. So like you've alluded to, which is correct, the lender will value the end value, okay, not the TDC, not what they're financing. Meaning bigger the value, less cash you got to put in, because they'll lend up to the value or whatever percentage of the end value, whether it's 65, 70, 75, they're all different. So they're going to go higher, meaning you put in less cash, because they'll lend you on a high valuation, which you mentioned. But like you said, a critical point there, get your renders done, build your case, build your story, position that to the valuer to get more value. So they lend you, the bank lends you more money. But
leveraging.
But simultaneously, what you're actually doing is you're taking those renders and you're able to start giving them back to the sales agent to start circulating, so you can get a more proactive buy as well.
Yes.
So a lot of this pre-planning you're doing, you're pre-planning the sale as well.
You're doing the second
it's
stage.
not working.
You're doing the second stage.
You're doing the second stage at the same time. So it's not like you'd be tight and go, I don't want to go get renders. I'm just going to do this.
Yeah.
I saw it happen to a builder last year. I kept pushing renders. Like you say, spend the money, get it done right, get the higher valuations. He didn't. Then what happened is he got close to the end of a sale, and he wasn't circulating renders, generating hype. So it was a reactive sale, right? And it started to become dire straits. Yeah. So again,
people need to be able to visualize it, especially the buyer.
Well, visual, like what is it? 1,000 words is a picture or something. Picture is
exactly. Plus, we'll take it.
In the upper echelon. Yeah. So the point is, your pre-planning is critical,
and that's why I think it is a good, safe model to play. But you've got to be highly active in it. It's a model that I think we definitely want to be playing more. And you can sort of, with them, another really good thing about that is the conventional build. So So if no one out there knows what a conventional build is, it's it's something that we can get prefabbed or pre-made, and it's stood within a few days. So, and we're talking about frames. So you might just have your concrete pad, like your concrete slab on the ground floor. If it's single story, you're laughing, right? Very hard around here if you want views, so you're pretty much going to get a second story to get that view, right? So, but in both cases, the same thing. You get your slab down, you get pre-made frames from your frame and truss mob. They send them out. You get you guys to bag them up. Same with your roof. Roofs take a lot of time if they're architectural, right? I've learned a lot of this, especially doing funky eave details that might have taken 3 weeks, whereas the eaves are going in with the roof on a conventional roof. We could go get a standard truss roof with some nice gables to funk it up and make it all look Hamptons in. We pitch that roof in 3 days. Pre-made, done. Walk away. Your timing from a from a middle market development, you can generally get the DAs approved a bit quicker. You're generally not in, you're not going to be beachfront, so you're not going to be environmental. You're going to be very smart with bushfire, and generally suburbia is a lot better. And then on top of that, you've got with acreage, you've got same thing. You've got environmental, so you've got all these things that slow the DA down. Your DA will take longer to approve because there's probably going to be more submissions. There's going to be more environmental effects. So you cut that down by at least half in the middle market with a view, right? Your suburbia done, clear block, no trees, none of that. You get to put in a DA, pick the right areas where you know there's a good assessor. Forest got approved to 52 days, right? Probably a record. And then we had another build in Terrigal that was approved 1 day after. They went at the same time. Whereas these ones that are on these more luxury end, I've had sitting there, you can have beachfronts sitting there for 12 months, right? So you think, and then that site's cost you more to get. So that site sitting there for 12 months at a longer period of time has cost you a lot more interest. And then your VAL's not going to stack up. And then you're going to inject capital. And then it's just a longer process. By the time you finish it could be 3 years.
Which screws your feasibility, right? Those holding costs. So in an ideal middle market model,
you can always knock something over in 12 to 16 months.
Yeah, 12 months is a good investment time frame. It's attractive, it's close, and it's in close proximity.
You can do it more than one.
So if we want to do a 12 month, right, there's nothing wrong with being a little bit aggressive and go 12 months, You're $1.5 million in 12 months is fantastic, right? What are you really doing to make sure that timeline hits? You want to do what you did in Henry's. You want to get the acquisition quick and fast, which you did, and you had a delayed settlement. You want to get all the renders and get the end value stacking up, which you did. We got the finance relatively quickly, could have been faster. Okay, so we could have got started quicker. You got it in and out of DA within that time frame you mentioned. What are the critical things we want to knock out fast if we were to do a $1.5 million profit in 12 months? Because that's attractive.
Well, I guess when I look at the 12 months, it's got to be pretty much from settlement, right? So realistically,
let's do it with Queensland. Let's make this up, right?
Yeah.
We're going to Queensland, which we are.
Yeah.
We want to do this same model. It might be a 2x2x2. We want to do it in 12 months just to hit a record time frame, but not breaching quality and feasibility. Tell me what we do.
So obviously it's like you're going a new market up there, and sometimes that's what it feels like. You're starting all over again.
Yeah.
Same thing, you got to find the right agents and you got to find the right people that want to work with you and form that relationship with them, treat them right. Same thing, we've got someone up there that's help at the moment that's from down here, and you've got to do that because you're going into a market that you're not too familiar with, right? So you need to be number one, making sure you're buying the right product, and been flying up and back there for over 6 months now because of that reason, to get more intel, to get more switched on about that market up there, which is new, right? You can't just go and go, yeah, I'm going to buy that. It doesn't work. So you got to get all that part done right. And then my biggest play in this game is you've got to strike a deal at the start, right? And a deal to me, so a normal deal is you going in and saying, yep, I'm going to pay the market price, and that market price is $1.8 million. And I'm going to have a 42 standard day settlement. So in 5 weeks, I've forked out 10% and I'm settled. I've forked out 10% now, and then in 5 weeks, I'm done and settled, and I've put the whole 20% in. You've pretty much got not that much done in 5 weeks, right? 5 weeks, you might have engaged an architect. So you got to have the team. By the time you engage an architect, you haven't already got an architect. That architect, yeah, we'll start in 3 months. You've seen that happen.
Yep.
So you've got to have the team. If you don't have the team, you're going to times 20 on your time, right? If you don't have the team. So you need to have the architects that can start straight away. So you pretty much want to be starting the moment that you exchange. So in 5 weeks,
Exchanges here, right?
standard exchange to settlement's 5 weeks.
Yeah. So you sign a contract here. With Henry's, we delayed the settlement to here, given a couple of months, 3 months, right? You were straight onto the design, right?
Straight away. So that's a standard formula. So in 5 weeks, you've already got all your skin in the game. You probably haven't done much. That's not how you want to start. So you want to go in, and I said the market sale was 1.8. Well, you want to try and get that thing for 1.5 to 1.6. You want to do, depending on the market, you want to do your best. And if there's no one else there buying it, push, because you're only competing against yourself. And if no one else is there, you're always going to be able to go back in a couple of weeks and say, you know what, I'll give you a 1.7, right? You got to play the game at the start. So let's just say, righto, we've got it for 1.6. So you're $200,000 in front already. How good? But on this deal, I feel like I've given you 50K more than what it's worth. I'm going to give you 5% deposit, not 10. So instead of giving you 180,000, I'm going to give you, instead of giving you 160,000, I'm going to give you 80. Good maths, eh? Yep. Still got it. So I'm going to give you 80,000, right? So you've only got $80,000 worth of skin in the game, and you've negotiated yourself an extension of time or a delayed settlement of at least 3 months. Because I know in 3 months you can get a lot done. In 3 months, I'm pretty confident I'm going to have a DA submitted. Right, because I don't need engineering for DA. So you take the standard way. At 5 weeks, you settle your 20% and you've got nothing done. Or you push and you work hard and you have these relationships and you extend your settlement and you only put 90K in. So for 3 months at best, maybe 4. I think our one was 4 actually. But even if you say 3 months, at 3 months, I've put in 90K, not 180. So I've got a better cash flow.
I've got no holding costs.
I've got no holding costs.
Got no loans.
During that 3 to 4 months, if you work your little ass off and you've got a good architect, you're going to have your DA submitted, right? When your DA is submitted, you can start actually selling the product. Mm-hmm. When the DA is not submitted, you can't sell the product. Mm-hmm. I don't care what anyone says, because I ain't buying a house that hasn't got a determination of the DA yet. Mm-hmm. So you get to that period and you go, wow, I've got a DA done. Now I'm going, right, now I've got to put in my money. I've already, when I do my DAs, I know architects don't like it, but you know what? I'm the one paying the cash. Mm-hmm. So, and then I'm paying you the cash to do your job. Mm-hmm. Let's just all work together. I want to do structurals when the DA is getting assessed. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do, and I know that you got to blend it all in, but you know what? I'm going to do it based on your DA drawings. Then when the DA comes out and you've got it, generally, when we settle, which we did, we had DA drawings and approval in 52 days. I had engineering. So the only part of that holding cost that we're doing CC stuff. Mm-hmm. So we're incorporating the structural design into the DA drawings, and we're turning the DA drawings into CC drawings, and we're ready to go. So that's a big difference. Whereas you kept flowing the other way.
It's taking a year.
I reckon you're probably...
taking a year to get moving.
And I reckon you're paying holding costs for at least like
50 to 100K.
So you start off on the back foot. Yeah. So this way you start off 200K in front because you've negotiated the market. You're ready. Mate, it could be, and at the time, it could be the difference of $500,000, man. Like,
yeah, in your feasibility could be half of it.
Yeah. So you've got to work hard. My rule of thumb is you've got to work really hard to CC. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to work really hard to CC, because then the builder kicks in, the builder's building it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then all you're in the background working the agent trying to sell stuff.
Trying to sell it. Yeah.
You've got to work so hard. Let's call it an 80-20. The rule, things are 80-20. I reckon there's 80% from acquisition to CC, and then there's 20% from build to sell. Yeah. And you can save yourself a lot of money.
Yeah. It's the triple M 80-20 fast speed formula to make $1.5 million in 12 months. BQ.
Yeah. Whereas, but you got to work hard. You got to get things done.
It's clear though. That is clear.
You're trying to say it clearly in I guess, if you aren't a developer or you want to try and develop more, where you can see where you need to put the work and what you need to do.
That first 3 months is critical. Yep. It is absolutely critical. And even before the first 3 months, if there was another few months, right now that doesn't cost you anything, get the team.
You got to have the team, because if you don't have the architect or that engineer, they're not starting the next week for you. Yeah, they're not pushing someone else's job out because you're a repeating customer.
You got to preset this, right? So you've got to have the agent looking for the site. You've got to have the architect ready and knowing what you're going to do, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're in the 3 month window. You're getting it done. You're getting it set up. And then you've got this 9 months while the build's getting done to make sure behind the scenes, like you said, you're working with the agent
100%.
to be ready for the sell based on all the work you've done around valuations, renders, all of that.
Yep.
Knowing, the product to market fit, all the stuff you did at the start should then just nicely
back on flow. Okay, we'll come to the end of it, and it will make the whole process a lot better. And and then whereas if we talk with, like, we haven't touched much on the sort of the lower market or the lower housing, it's small land subdivisions, it's breaking the blocks up, it takes a lot of time, it's getting multiple houses in that area. As we know, there's been a lot of project homes, home builders, that I guess go in and buy 100 of these lots off people that have sort of gone on the back burner or gone into liquidation lately, and and that's a pinching point for people who are trying to buy a property at a 6 or 7%, which is double to what they were buying them at before. So that's the first buyers that are going to go. So you're going to struggle through that middle market period. That lower end market period when that's happening. So they're the ones that are going to pull off the buying straight.
Yeah, they don't have the same money that middle market does, and it just is the way it is. They don't have the money to spend. They're not as luxurious, right, in their spending habits. They're not as emotional because they want what they want, and materialism comes into this as well. And that's why that middle market, right, they're happy to spend. They're happy to get the Dior or the Versace. They're happy to get the thing that looks over the water at Henry's. They've got more money to spend.
Yeah. And they can probably push through a few years of paying a 6 or 7% interest rate, right? So there's a lot of, I guess, safety mechanisms around that market.
Yes.
That can, I guess, help you push through it. And I guess on the lower end market, if you buy a block, you've got to be able to hold that stock for the right time. So you've got to be able to say, right, we're going to sell all, because you think about it, you might have 50 properties and you've got to sell them all at 30K less. 1.5 million. It's a lot of right? So if you can cash flow that, hold that block for another 2 years and then go out when the interest rates drop, sweet. That's a big timing game. The middle market, I feel that you can if you do it right, you've just got to probably maybe adjust how many you're doing at once in certain markets. But at the same time, you can find some good buyers in a market where there's interest rates at 6%, because you're probably not going to get a lot of these buyers still going out and buying that. And you push up into the higher end market, which is what the luxury end, which is what we do a lot of. It's just a funny game. Like, I look at that and say, well, anyone who's buying something for that amount of money doesn't care what interest rates are doing. They're generally buying it with their money, or they're trying to generally buy it to get rid of money for tax perks or whatever they want to do, right? So I feel that's a safer market for that, but you have to create it, and there's a lot of cash injection.
And there's experience required, and it takes time. And
it's got to be I think it's got to be a build development model like we have.
It is, and you've gone up through flips. You've gone up through the middle market. Like,
you're going to taste
the middle market before. I've seen multiple products, and you've through creative desire, you've gone up into the upper echelon or the upper market, right? And that's cool, but you got to earn the stripes.
And you got to. For me, that luxury and market, it's like a bit of art for me. It's a bit of masterpiece, and I could stand there all day and look at them when they're finished. That's where I get my satisfaction from. In that, they're super risky. They've got to put a lot of money into them, and a lot of banks don't have appetite for it.
Yep.
Right, big banks, big four banks, they don't have appetite for that sort of stuff. They have appetite for stock standard cookie cutter 60 units, be done with it. So you're playing a game where no one wants to be really involved with. You've got to love it. You've got to be passionate about it, and you got to love that product.
Yeah, right? So have some capital as well.
Yeah. So, like, instead of putting 600K in and getting a really good result at the end, something like a $5 or whatever $5.5 million TDC on a luxury single project, you're probably putting in $2 million minimum, and then you're going to have some money there for shortfall, because that build can go for 2.5 to 3 in 5 6. This is architectural, right?
Oh, yeah, so there's a big difference between 2 million versus 600K, because the end value stacked up on the comparables. There's also a big difference between 12 months and 2 to 3 years, and that's why this middle market triple M model is so important.
It's a good model. And it's something that as they set up at the Urban Developer, one of their topics, that it's a market that if you can specialize in it and do it right, you never do 1 million of them, but if you can do it right, you think about it. If you can knock over 5 of them, have 5 of them on your plate going at once, or you have 5 of them going in multiple suburbs.
Good money, mate. It's fucking crazy.
And if one fails, and like if one, let's say one doesn't make money or one has to sit there, you can hold it. You can do it if
Because you've got diversification. And if you're doing 5 at $1 million, that's 5 mil. Building businesses getting paid as well, handsomely, because you've done your fees right. And so you're still making 20-25% off.
Yeah, no, that's another thing as well. For all those builders out there, I think if you can do it right, the build development model definitely suits that a lot better. If you want to get a clip on both ends. I've learnt the hard way where I didn't click the other end and now I'm clipping the other end, but that's all learning. So that's what we're here to tell you about, isn't it? So if you don't do that right, it can wreck the other end. You've got to build that end back.
You get both.
But
if you do the feasibility right, you get the 20%.
And you've got control of it over the whole time.
Yeah, you do the feasibility right. Like you said, do it all right. Don't bullshit it. Get the right team. You're getting your 20% as builder and you're getting the full development.
You should be getting your 20 to 30% cut of development at the end.
Yeah.
Of 2DC. So
yeah, you're just getting both. Right?
Exactly.
Because you did your homework right at the start within that 3 months.
Yeah.
That's critical.
So really,
that's good money, man. 5 by $1 million plus a building business makes what, $1 million.
So if you look at that at a build development model and you look at that model of say a 1.5, 1 or 1.5 or whatever, in the middle market, yeah, you could potentially be saying, a mil pull out, obviously gross on your development end, and then you really should be looking at a 3 to 400, 3 or so 100K pull out on a 1.6-ish build,
times
something
5, mate. Like if you're doing 5 in your portfolio, you're making 5 mil here, 2 mil here, or 1.5 mil here.
No clients.
And no fucking clients. Like that to me is a fantastic model. And you can take your family and you can take your travel and you can go to Queensland a bit, you can go over to Foresters a little bit, and you can maybe venture over here and you can be freaking focused because you've only got 5, and you can be diversified, or we'll sell that because we just got an offer on that.
Well, you know what? This one could be a good holiday let.
This one could be a good holiday let. Like that there is like, that's artwork.
100%.
That's strategic artwork.
Yep, 100%.
Triple M's
the way.
Middle market model.
So
you wanted it, we came back, we gave it to you, the middle market model.
Hopefully Mr. Cooney likes it, but that's I guess a wrap up for that. But yeah, hopefully he's liked this one.
I liked it.
Yeah, so did I.
It's exciting. It's refocused me.
Yeah, I hope he's learning a little bit from it. But yeah, I guess all this is just coming from mistakes and past learnings that you do yourself and
what we're doing.
Yeah,
and what we're doing.
Yeah,
so we're not sitting here telling you something. Like this is something.
This one grow.
Yeah, like I believe in this model.
So reach out,
hit us up. Middle market model, Triple M.